Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Financial Advisors Workshop. This is the show where we interview some top financial advisors all over America, and we look for best practices and really unique things that people are doing to serve the public in financial planning, financial advising, wealth advising. And so today we have another great interview. And actually, I'm in Chicago. Our headquarters is Chicago, and we have Russell Luce. And Russell, you're a suburban Chicago, and you're right around here in
I
our
am.
neighborhood.
I'm in the south suburbs of Chicago and then the southwest part of Indiana. So yeah, we're right around that Chicagoland area.
Welcome, Russell Luce, to the Financial Advisors Workshop.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the invitation. I really do.
Great. Now, today, Russell, you run Planning Legacies Financial Group, and we've talked a little bit about your growth and everything that's happening. We'll get to that, but how did you get into this business? Tell us the past. How did you
Uh,
decide on this
not the
career?
typical path. What I mean by that is you can tell by my hair, my background is military and police. Um, so about 32 years ago, I had left the police department, got into the trades, fell and hurt my back, fell 15 feet, hurt my back, had major surgery. And the doctor told me at that time, you need to find a new career. And I couldn't go back to the police department for the same reason because of my back. So we were going through classes for my present wife and, for our wedding, and pastor asked me if I thought about a career in insurance investments. And I literally at that point in time said, started laughing at him. Said, Pastor Greg, I know how I feel about my insurance guy. Get the garlic and cross out. They're worse than vampires. I said, you're nuts. And he goes, no, I think with your personality and the way you care about people, I think this would be perfectly right in line for you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So interviewed with a company called Aid Association of Lutherans. And they had these aptitude tests they give you. And they at the time, we didn't have the internet like we do now. So they mail up the test, grade them, mail it back. And the agency that I interviewed was in Buffalo Grove. So, Chicago. So that's not exactly close to Orland Park.
Right.
So I interviewed, and the guy said, I think you're great. He says, I think you have the personality. He says, but your scores came back from the test. And so, well, my scores goes 8 out of 19. He says, we can't normally talk to people unless they scored 12 or above. I'm like, all right. He said, but you fall in an agency that's down south. Let me call them and I'll get back to you. So he called, and the agency was in Lockport, and Mike Kiermeyer was the general agent at the time. And they said, no, his scores are too low. We don't need to talk to him. So they were opening up another office between two offices. They were opening up in Villa Park. So the guy in Villa Park said, yeah, I'll interview him. So I went and did another interview, and I goes, the only thing is you can't beat this test. So it's not a beatable test. Just be honest. Okay. So I was, because they asked you what you could do your first year of revenue. I came from a military and police background. I don't know what I could do my first year of revenue in this business. So I gave them what I thought they wanted to hear. And she says, the only thing I will tell you is raise your expectations and be honest. So again, another week went by. They set the test up, tests come back, and I get a phone call from the assistant general agent of the Mike Kiermeyer agency. He goes, my name is Mark Sears. I'm the AGA of Mike Kiermeyer's agency. And we understand Paul would like to hire you, but can we talk to you first? And I'm like, sure. Because at that time, AAL had a closed their territory. So if an agent fell in that territory, they would work out that agency. So I get off the phone with Mark, and I get on the phone with Paul. I said, Linda, is Paul there? She goes, why? I said, I just got a phone call from the Kiermeyer agency. I thought these guys didn't want to talk to me. He goes, hold on. So Paul answers the phone. I said, what's going on? And he goes, well, your scores came back. I said, well, what are my scores this time? He goes, 16 out of 19. Now they want to talk to you. So there was a long running feud between the two agencies for a long time. So Mike Kiermeyer ended up hiring me. Again, as Paul Harvey says, that's the rest of the story. I've been in the business 32 years. So my track into this industry is not what I call a normal track. I look to be in finance. In fact, my dad's wife at the time was the office manager for the largest Prudential office in Oakland, and never once asked if I thought about this career. So I'm a firm believer God put me in places, and this was, my mission in life was to do what I'm doing.
Great. So you've gotten into the whole wealth advisory business by starting out in insurance. And what did you do with insurance back then?
I've been duly licensed from day one in the industry. So I've had my securities license from day one. we do things holistically with my partner and I. We don't go in, if we get a new client or a referral, we don't go in with a specific idea of what we're going to do with that client. Unless it's Medicare, obviously. If it's Medicare, then we know what we're starting with. But for the most part, we go in holistically. A lot of times people seek out advice or seek out somebody that they can trust, and they're looking for help. They're looking for somebody to help guide them. I have a good friend of mine in the industry called Van Miller, and Van has he's big on making sure you just ask a lot of questions. You can't tell people what to do. You have to ask them the questions and kind of guide them that way. If you tell people what to do, that is sort of, it's authoritative, meaning it's like I'm back on the police department or back in the military. You can't tell people because they don't have to do what we tell them to do. It's our job as financial professionals. This is my professional opinion. This is why I think this. This is why I think it's going to accomplish what you're telling me that you want to accomplish. But by asking them a lot of questions. So, and we try to do that. We try to figure out, it's like, people say, can you help me? I don't know. What do you mean, don't know? I don't know if you're sick. You're asking me if I can help you when I don't know if there's a problem. So I love when I tell people, no, you're fine. Stay on the right track that you're at. Or no, we need to tweak this or whatever. So it's just it's a way for us to help people and guide people to get to the goals that they want to go. So we do things very holistically. We don't go in with one concept.
Do you have any patterns though? Do you tend to put people in certain types of portfolios similarly, all type, or is everybody really completely custom?
Everybody's completely different. Well, like I said, because we go in holistically, and because of the fact we look at people as an individual, not everybody. It drives me crazy when you get Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman, or you get these people that's on TTW and tell people what they got to do. People have life. Life gets in the way of a lot of things. So, you got to work within what they're comfortable with. You can come up with the greatest plan in the whole wide world, but if it's not something they're comfortable with or they're going to be committed to, they're not going to do it. So why waste your time or theirs? We have a system called generational planning system, or we call it GPS. And we tell people our job is to guide you through the smooth waters and the rough waters of life to get to your retirement. Because
Right.
we're going to have smooth waters. We're going to have waters that are choppy. We're going to have waters that are just downright white caps. How do we get through that? And how do we get to the goal of what they want in their retirement?
Right.
Or what they want as their legacy, no pun intended on the couple.
Yeah. So that's part of your name, legacy. And so
that's why we did. That's why I named it. It was basically P&L at the time because it was for my partner and I when I first started called Pratt and Luce. And then it just started, it was always called Planning Legacies Financial Group. But what people kept asking was the logo P&L, profit and loss. I'm like, no, it's planning. And so we changed and rebranded about 3 years ago. And the guy who created the brand and created the logo and everything for us, we didn't tell him anything. I just said, make it financial. And he came up with the compass type of logo. And that's how GPS was then, born. And then, we've kind of gone that route, and that's kind of, we try to get the families involved anytime we're dealing with anybody, because there's always a child, there's always somebody that they lean on for help. So we always try to get those family members involved.
Excellent. So you started in insurance sales, and then you transitioned to do a little bit more in security. So how do you do it with the security side? You handle the insurance part, but then what do you do when you go over their portfolio? How do you integrate all that?
We basically try to take what their goals are. I always laugh because I was interviewed for a magazine. I don't know if I have it up here somewhere on my walls. It's a wealth magazine with a manager I used to work with. And our way of breaking it down to help what people understand is I'm very sports. You can't see because my stuff is blacked out. But I have some sports memorabilia all over my office. And so I break third-party management or wealth management down to sports analogy. So I always ask people, what's your favorite sport? And if you ask a football player, okay, great. Who's your favorite team? Chicago Bears. And I always say, I'm sorry. But then, it's like you're the McCaskey family. What's your objective? win the Super Bowl. Okay, the Super Bowl is your retirement. Now you hired me to be president of operations. So now it's my job to go out and find the right coaches, right players, and right assistant coaches and everybody to get you to that goal, winning the Super Bowl, which is your retirement. Then people start understanding the team concept and basically how insurance and how wealth management and how, protection, all that is very intertwined with each other. It's not just one, it's not just one piece. It's got to all work together. So that's kind of how we approach it. We basically look at what their objectives are and try to, hone down on what their risk tolerance is, because if you have somebody who's not a risk person or risk adverse and you're putting them into something that's very risky, it doesn't match. So you got to find out what's their objectives, what their goals are, and what they're comfortable with. And I always tell people, we're a reality check. I may tell you some things you don't want to hear. But it's my job is to give you our professional opinion. It's our job to give you our guidance and, so, and then hopefully get you to the position you want to be at.
Right. Okay. Well, great. So you see, you do some planning, obviously. What kind of tools do you use? Do you have different softwares, or how do you?
Yeah, we have a couple softwares. I have a software that I use a lot called Retire Up, and that's a very robust program. We will use Money Guide Pro depending on the client as well. Most individuals don't want the full plan anymore. I don't want to talk about disability. I want to talk about long-term care. I want to talk about life insurance. So we try to start with I never can say this word right, compartmentalize people. So, okay, let's talk about what's important to you. Okay. And that's a lot of where I'm at in retirement or where I'm at protection, wherever it may be. And then start the plan from that point. We always tell people who don't want to work with us more than once a year or twice a year. We always see at least clients twice a year minimum. Then you're not working with our firm, because everything changes so much throughout a year that we want to make sure that, we're meeting their objectives and making them happy. And sometimes that's not possible. Like I was getting off a phone call before I got in this podcast with you, and a client was, unhappy, and he didn't want to deal with the market anymore. I said, hold on, Jim. So let's sit down and go over what the real anxiety is. When I always tell clients, call me anytime you get the anxiety, because I'd rather deal with it at that time than let it fester for you. So it's an ongoing relationship situation. If you have a good planner or somebody who is in your corner, you always want to have somebody like that.
No, it really is, and that's really the key, is the relationship. So as you developed in the insurance business and then you started doing planning, how has that evolved over the years? Like you didn't have those tools in the beginning, right?
Oh God, no. When you're corporate America, like I started my career. So I've been now 32 years. I've been independent now for 16 years. Oh my God. That just shocked me. So there's a difference. When you're corporate, you have to work with what tools that company provides. For the most part, they don't like the aspect of going Robin Hood or going, and doing your own type of thing. So when we started out work in corporate America, it's different than independent channel. Corporate America, they tell us what menu we have to choose to use product wise. So when we went independent, or when I went independent, we got to choose the tools that we use and got to choose the clients that we work with. We don't work with just anybody. If we don't enjoy the relationship with the client, we're not going to work with you. In 30 years, I think I fired 3 clients. I just recently fired a client because she wasn't listening. So I always tell people, you're not going to listen to our advice. Then why are you working with us? And I will take the liability on at that point in time. But there's many tools out there. We have a risk analyze. We have we vet companies, and a lot of companies don't have their tools. We just walked into a very, very unique situation. I call him the mad scientist, where he's created an algorithm to get people their equity-based returns with a non-equity-based risk. So we've been doing a lot with that just recently. So again, things evolve as new tools come out, as AI is infecting, a lot of our industry. So But again, I still think our industry is still a relationship industry. If we don't have that relationship with the client, you don't have the trust with the client. If you don't have the trust with the client, client's not going to do what you ask them.
Right.
So I think that's really important still to this day. I always laugh. People say, "Well, I'm gonna go online. I'm gonna do it myself." Great. Or we get a plan together for them. They said, "Let me think about it." You're right. You're gonna come home. You're gonna take a glass of beer or a glass of wine or a bourbon, whatever you drink. Pop if you don't drink alcohol, and you're gonna take your shoes off. You're gonna kick your feet up, and you're gonna pull out the plan and you're gonna look at it.
Never going to happen.
Never gonna happen. So that's why we take things in small bites with people. Once we have one situation that they're comfortable with, then also on other things. Can you do this? Can you do this? If I can't, there's somebody in the firm or somebody that we have a relationship with that let me make a phone call. Let me get this person involved for you. Or I get clients call me all the time. Hey, you got an electrician that I can use, or do you have this? So when they start calling you for relationships like that, then you're making an impact in their lives, because now they're calling you for ancillary things that you don't even do. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, good. So it's evolved over the years. And so how many different, well, let me ask this. You have clients that are on like a financial planning program and you review it with them periodically,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Often,
Again, we always tell clients that it's strictly your view. We have to have a minimum twice a year, at minimum, because if you're not going to do that, then we don't want work to do, because we don't want the liability. But we tell clients we'll meet as often as you want. So if you want to meet once every 2 months or once a month, great. We'll make it, same time, same channel, like the old Batman program, same time, same channel. Shows my age a little bit on that one, but, but we like that communication. We like that, again, goes back to that relationship, because we don't want clients to go through anxiety when they're worried about, can I retire, or can I meet my goals, to send Tommy to college, or, what is, we want to go on this trip. Are we going to be able to make that trip when I retire? Those type of things. So we rather have people call us when they're frustrated or upset or have a question. I always tell people, you can call my cell phone up until about 9:00 at night, because then I put it in my office. And if I'm laying in bed, it's connected to my iPad, and you call me or email me. If I'm up, I'm going to answer the email. Sometimes I'm up to 11, 12 o'clock at night just because I need to decompress. And people are like, why are you answering my email at 11:30? Because you're emailing me at 11:30.
right.
But again, I think if you're a good advisor, no matter if you're working in a big wirehouse, a corporate, wealth management, or if you're independent, the clients are working with you as an advisor because they trust you. It's,
Right.
in most cases, they don't know the companies. They don't care about the companies. They just want to make sure that you're in their corner. So I think in our industry, that's very important.
Very much so. Well, good. Okay. So then, and how many different clients do you have that are on like a regular planning system that you review every 6 months?
Oh, Lord have mercy. I think we have actively, I would say actively right now, we have over 2,000 clients in our database. So most of our C&D clients are not, what I mean by C&D is it's assets and how many programs that we're working with them on. They'll get an appointment probably once, maybe twice a year at max. Usually those individuals, because there's not a lot of things that we have to stay on top of. Our A and B clients, we'll probably see them 3 times a year, 4 times a year, again, to review. And that's probably right now about a quarter of our clients. So it's probably about 250 to 400 people any given time that are, having a lot of reviews, because they're, we've done a full boat retirement plan for them, and we're gauging the returns, or people are getting nervous because of it's going into election year. And I always tell people, markets do not like election years. They never have, never will. Volatility is going to be a lot of fun during that time period. So, I always tell people, don't look at things. Don't look at things daily, because you'll drive yourself crazy. You'll get your quarterly statements, you'll get your annual statements, and on a quarter, if you don't like something, we can always adjust it. But unless there's something majorly changing your goals, the market fluctuations up or down come with the territory. I have a really good, I've been blessed throughout my career of doing this really well and getting really smarter people than me, involved. I've been really blessed with, I have a lot of about 3 or 4 friends that are analysts that they eat, breathe, and just sleep, this industry, day in, day out. I tell people I don't manage the money day in and day out. I have people that do that for us and do that for you. But that being said is, I get a lot of different opinions, and a lot of times, like I tell people, I don't have a problem asking other people that are smarter than I am. Mm-hmm. What's your input? What do you think if you had this scenario? Like getting feedback from other people. Because if you're an advisor and you don't want anybody else helping you and you think you're the best, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You can convey that to a client very confident, and I do. But I also tell clients is one thing that I do is, like I said, I ask for help and I ask for people's input from others. That's how my business partner and I started. It was just me mentoring her because she needed somebody to go. She was new to the industry, not new. She was been in the industry about 5 or 6 years, but she wanted to get more involved into other aspects of the industry, not just Medicare and life insurance.
Right.
So again, what starts out with one thing with a client, then it starts evolving. And I think as advisors, we have to evolve. We have to evolve in our tools. We have to evolve in our philosophies. The older I've gotten, less riskier I'm with my clients' money. And that's not because they're not risk adverse. It's just I'm more risk adverse because I want people to have money, not, return of their money, not so much always the return on the money. So it's changed over the years.
So, okay, well, great. So you still do the Medicare and other insurance as well. In addition,
our Medicare, the insurance part, really, to be honest with you, Brian, is kind of the lead. And I used to give my partner crap when we first started because she was big on Medicare. I'm like, you know how much time you're wasting on Medicare? And now I don't give her that grief anymore because it starts with that relationship again, but it's something that they need to take care of. We need to take care of, and then it evolves into something else. So the insurance and, that all basically starts the full process of the wealth management as well. Because people have a tendency to want to work with only one person. I was on the phone call yesterday with a gentleman whose wife passed away downstate, and I'm the FMO for that particular carrier, or the IMO for that particular carrier in Illinois. And he goes, I'm working with a guy right now with my wife's 401k. I don't like the guy. I don't trust him. He goes, can I come up and work with you? I said, Del, you've never met me. You've only talked to me on the telephone. He goes, yeah, but I trust you. He said, I'll drive up an hour and a half, the 2 hours to come meet you because I trust you. Again, it goes back to my mother. I was raised by a single mom for my early years of my life. And my mother always taught me, you treat people with respect, you treat people with kindness, and, and it pays it forward. And we continue to try doing it today. So,
yeah. Good. Well, okay. So fast forward to now, you've got, about 400 clients that you do reviews with regularly, but you got about 3,000. So are those like smaller accounts where they don't require a lot, or how does that all work out?
Some of it we have acquired. We have guys who have retired and said, will you take over my client base? And I always tell guys, I say, I'm going to be honest with you. Let the clients know that until we can get to them, until they get into the rotation of, on the phones, they're more welcome to call if there's a problem that pops up. So that number keeps adding as far as more and more reviews type situation. That's why my partner and I both with the idea that we need to get full-time assistant on again for just us. And then we need to basically just start bringing on people to handle the clients that we can't get to, just because we don't want them falling through the cracks. We don't really do marketing anymore because we don't take clients on, except for if they're referrals or something like this. Hey, I saw you on this podcast, or I saw you here. I'd like to work with you. And again, if they don't follow certain criteria, but if it's a referral, like we have, a lot of our A clients say, hey, my son needs help. Doesn't have really much, but they really could use your help. What am I going to do? Tell that client no? No, I can't work with them. So, so we'll
So
take.
you work with families as well.
We try to work with families. That's really what we like to do because mom and dad will have a pot of money. Most individuals that are in retirement, they don't change their spending habits.
Right.
So if you have somebody who's a traveler when they're younger, then they're going to travel when they retire. If they're not travelers when they, were, working, they're probably not going to travel a whole lot when they retire. Then
Right.
when their kids start having kids, well, then they don't really want to retire. They want to stay closer to home, with their children. So that dynamic, we always like to have families involved because you're really going to deal with all the families at one point or another.
Right.
So that's why we call it generational planning system. We like working with the children as well, because even though some of the tax laws change where you can't do a lot of generational planning like you used to, you can still, create that generational, wealth.
Exactly. Great. So, when you do the investments, what kind of managers do you use, and tell us what kind of solutions you have there?
We're very lucky. The broker dealer that I clear through is called Silver Oak Securities. They're truly a perfect broker dealer for an independent marketplace. We have a lot of or what we call TAMPs, third party managers.
Mhm.
Have some of the bigger fund families have the management, the wealth management type of fee based type of situation. So those are changing. So, and we have a software called Advisor FX that we're able to use multiple managers and multiple accounts underneath one umbrella. So we have the master account and we have all these. So it's kind of like creating your own mini mutual funds, more or less type of scenario. Again, and I rely on a lot of smarter people than me to say, okay, this is my client's, uh, they're 70-30, they're 60-40, they're very risk averse. So we have to have some money growing, but they don't want a lot that they can risk. And then you come up with, okay, and then you kind of just go on the shelf and then pick the right tools for that client.
Okay. Very good. Do you manage
It's not
any?
one all for, Brian, there's really guys that have set, there's guys that in the industry that have set portfolios that they start with. But if you don't pluck and you don't take, that changes. You have if a money manager or a fund manager changes, that fund's going to change because now you have different philosophies managing that fund.
Right.
So that's always got to evolve. So I always tell clients, especially if I'm recruiting an agent, if you want an industry that changes almost yearly and you like to be educated almost yearly, this is it. You'll never.
Got it. You got it. No doubt about it. Well, good. Well, so tell me, we had a really lousy year in 2022, and then this year has turned out to be a good year, but only for a few stocks. So most of the stocks haven't done well. How are the clients doing?
Again, COVID changed a lot of things for people in 2019, 2020. So a lot of people became very gun shy because I've been in this business 32 years. I've gone through some major market corrections, but never a pandemic correction. So that was very uncharted waters for a lot of people. But I'm very, like I said, very blessed with individuals that I'm part of a team. We call it kind of like an off or a family office type of team. I think between all of us, we manage about 300 million. But these guys, like I said, they have different philosophies and different things that they do. So clients have been doing fairly okay. We've been double digits on a lot of our returns right now in 2023. 2022 was terrible. And I tell clients, it was. But if you keep moving out and keep making a lot of corrections to your portfolio just because you're chasing returns, it's going to hurt you. If you're changing philosophies or changing goals, that's different. Then you adapt more so. But it's a constant involvement to that client and it's constant involvement to the portfolio. So it changes year by year.
It does. All right. So, so what does the future look like from here for for clients first, and then for your practice? What do you give us your outlook?
I'm not going to get political here, so I'm hoping things get a little bit more stable as far as inflation as far as people feeling better about things. Because a lot of when clients feel better about things, even though there's corrections or there's ebb and flows of the market, if things in general are better, in our, when I say our world, I guess best way of putting it, they feel better about stuff, better about, their situations.
Right.
A lot of times I love when they tell people you're in great position. This has got to be tweaked or this, or we got to change this. And they go out of our office feeling better than they came in.
Right.
That to me is critical. I think what you'll see in 2024, we're already at the end of 2023. So we're already looking at first quarter 2024. I still think you're going to see a growth focus, but the closer we get to November, you're going to see a lot more volatility again, because until we have a new president in 2024, you don't know where the market doesn't, like we both know, market doesn't like uncertainty. Once that uncertainty is fixed, they'll say, okay, the White House is changing or White House is staying the same, but the other two branches change. Then you'll see, again, I'm not chasing politics, but that does affect people's thoughts, and that does affect people's individuals' goals or criteria, what they're willing to work with.
Yeah. So then what does the future look like for you and your company?
Well, I got really blessed about 5 years ago. I've been doing this now 30. I can't believe I keep saying that. 32 years. If you had told me 32 years ago I'd be in finance, I would be telling you smoking some good, good drugs. I got very blessed finding somebody. I'm wired pretty tight, as you can tell probably by the interview. I enjoy what I do. This is not work. People always ask me when I retire. I just turned 60. And I said, probably not. As long as the brain's there, I said, the biggest thing I have to do is carry the tablet and a billfold into a meeting. And if they come into our office, then I'm sitting at a desk. I said, so as long as my brain's operable, I don't think I'll retire, because to me, this isn't work. This is helping people. This is fun.
Yeah.
My goal is every day is to make a difference in somebody's life. Whether they hear a podcast like this and okay, now that makes sense, or they, say something in my other podcast, or they read the book that we wrote, or whatever, and it makes a difference, or they sat down with us and they walk out of the office better because they don't think they're in a good place. And then all of a sudden, then you show them, you have this much money, you have this much coming in, you're spending this, it's growing this, you're fine. But we have to continue growing it, and they walk out, you see the change in them, and all of a sudden that shoulder goes back a little bit further and they're smiling a little bit more. To me, that's just as much as, doing $1 million, transaction, type situation, because that person feels better. And that's always our goal, my partner and I, every day, is to at least make a difference in somebody's lives at least once a day.
Right. Very interesting. Well, good. So
our goals hopefully is to continue growing the firm, because you have, what our intentions are. Like I said, my partner is 20 years younger than I am. So we always tell clients that to me is very important. That's why I look for a much younger partner. Because I don't want people, if something happens to me, to turn around and say, okay, what do I do now? Who do I work with now? Or, then I have to be uncomfortable finding another advisor to work with. I always tell people, we always want to make sure that, you're always going to deal with myself or Tara, or as we, grow, our other advisors, so you don't have to have that uncertainty ever in your financial life. So we hope to continue to grow. And I think our next volley into an office space will probably be Clearwater area, Florida, down Largo, Tampa, that type area. So that's our
nice
2024 goal.
So Russell, in that next couple months, a few hundred people are going to see this, and then maybe over 1,000 over time. And so consider yourself like in an auditorium, and all those people are in front of you right now.
Okay.
What kind of message would you have for them? A general message about the industry, or what would you like to tell that group of people?
You have to make sure when you're looking for advice that you find somebody that you can trust. So find somebody that has a team concept. What I mean by that is they're not lone wolf. I know everything, because if you think you know everything in the industry, then you're naive and you're an idiot.
Right.
But make sure that they have a good support system, good team And like I said, I'm very blessed with the fact is I do have a good team that I work with. Like I said, I have 5 guys that were part of a committee that we talk about. I have a wonderful business partner who's a woman and who's 20 years younger than I am. So we're having a he and she, but we're also having a Gen X and a baby boomer, thought process. So that really worked out, for us well, because the client's getting not just one philosophy or one type of, thought process. Find somebody that you can trust. I did a presentation about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that. When was Bernie Madoff arrested? 2008, 2009?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm doing a presentation right after he got arrested. I was doing a presentation on retirement at a restaurant. And the guy looked at me and said, I got a question for you. So what's that? He goes, how do I know you're not Bernie Madoff? I said, sir, you met me 45 minutes ago. I might be. And I thought this guy's eyes were going to bug out of his head. I said, sir, you just met me 45 minutes ago. I said, what I would do is make sure you check out the advisor online, but always make sure that you can third-party verify where your money is at all times. So whether you can drive to the place, you can pick up the phone, or you can go on the internet and check their accounts. If that person is not giving you that information and not allowing you to do that, don't run away from them. Get in your car and drive over them because that person's a crook. But make sure you're dealing with good quality individuals. Are we perfect? No. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. I've been blessed with an award called the 5-Star Wealth Manager Award by a company that's similar to JD, the Powers Associates. And the reason I'm telling you is because I just pride myself on how we do our business. You have to be nominated by somebody else, and they then do a dive into your background. They do a dive into there's any complaints. They even check the color of your clothes that you're wearing that particular day, the socks you're wearing. It goes that deep into a check. And President, I'm one of 54 advisors in the Chicagoland area that holds that designation for 11 years straight, because all it takes is one complaint. But what I tell people is, do I get you the best returns? I honestly can't say I do, but what I can say is I'm very ethical in what we do. We're very passionate at what we do, and we're very committed to the success of our clients. And that's the people I think individuals need to find and work with, whether it's through a wirehouse, whether it's through Morgan Stanley, any of the bigger wirehouses or bigger wealth management firms. But find somebody that you can trust, that, you're comfortable sitting across that table knowing that they have your best interest.
Yeah, that's evident. Oh, great. Well, thanks. Sounds like you have a great practice and you're doing great work for a lot of families, which is pretty impressive.
We try.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's our goal to always make some type of impact. We do a lot of special needs planning because I have 2 sons who are autistic. And that's an area that they need a lot of help, individuals that have that type of scenario. That's our way to give back to our communities. But that's our passion. I'll do a speech for anybody, for any organization, special needs planning, because again, that's just something that's so critical for people. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you. I think we'll leave it there, Russell. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it, Brian. It was very nice time period. I appreciate it very much.
Keep serving the public well, and let's check in later on your expansion and see how things are going.
I look forward to the relationship and continue it, Brian. Have a great day.
Thanks, Russell.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
We'll leave it there, everybody. We'll be back again with another great advisor on the Financial Advisors Workshop. So thanks, everybody, for being with us today, and we'll sign off for the day.